The threat echoes through the Providence Municipal Courtroom like a thunderclap. My family's attorneys will have you removed from the bench. You'll be lucky to practice law in a strip mall after we're done with you. 25-year-old Ethan Blackwell stands at the defendant's table, his 6'2" frame radiating entitlement. His tailored Tom Ford suit, midnight blue, probably 7,000, fits perfectly across his shoulders. His Swiss watch glints under the courtroom lights, worth more than most people make in 6 months. His jaw is set, his eyes cold and calculating, his stance that of someone who has never, ever been told no. He has just made the fatal mistake of threatening a judge. Not just any judge. Judge Frank Caprio. What this arrogant millionaire son doesn't know is that the man standing before him has weathered 42 years of attempted intimidation, corruption offers, and veiled threats, and has never, not once, backed down. In exactly 9 minutes, Ethan Blackwell will realize he's made the biggest mistake of his privileged life. In exactly 13 minutes, he will be begging for mercy. And in exactly 48 hours, his name will be attached to what legal experts call the most creative sentencing in modern municipal court history, viewed by over 63 million people worldwide. What happens next will become one of the most talked about moments in courtroom history. The air in the courtroom is thick with tension today. Judge Frank Caprio, known for his compassion, sits at the bench with his reading glasses perched on his nose, reviewing a file that has gotten thicker with each court appearance. At 78 years old, his white hair and gentle demeanor have made him a beloved figure in Providence. The judge who cries with struggling single mothers, who forgives parking tickets for the elderly, who sees humanity in every defendant. But today, his usual warmth is tempered by something else: frustration, disappointment, and a growing sense that patience has its limits. The gallery is unusually full. Word has spread about this case, the millionaire's son who's been back in court 4 times for the same violations. Local reporters occupy the back row. Citizens waiting for their own hearings watch with keen interest. Court staff exchange knowing glances. Everyone can feel it. Something is about to break. At the defendant's table stands Ethan Blackwell, heir to the Blackwell Hotel empire, a chain of luxury properties spanning 17 states. His father, Gregory Blackwell, is worth an estimated $340 million. Ethan has grown up in penthouse suites, private schools, and a world where problems are solved with phone calls and checkbooks. His attorney, a distinguished man in his 60s named Howard Pemberton, charging $950 an hour, stands beside him with the weary expression of someone who knows his client is his own worst enemy. Judge Caprio removes his glasses slowly. Mr. Blackwell, this is your 5th appearance before this court. 5th. Do you understand why that concerns me? Ethan shrugs, his body language radiating boredom. Not really. This whole thing is blown way out of proportion. Blown out of proportion. Judge Caprio repeats carefully. You've been cited for excessive speeding 4 times in 6 months. Your last violation was driving 104 miles per hour in a 55-mile-per-hour zone on I-95. You have accumulated 17 points on your license. You've been ordered to attend traffic safety courses, which you've skipped twice. And yet you stand before me acting as if this is an inconvenience rather than a serious matter of public safety. Ethan examines his fingernails. I'm a good driver. Never been in an accident. These speed limits are arbitrary anyway, engineered for the lowest common denominator. Some of us actually know how to handle high-performance vehicles. A woman in the gallery, a retired schoolteacher waiting for her parking violation hearing, lets out an audible scoff. Ethan's head whips around. Excuse me? Something funny. Mr. Blackwell, Judge Caprio's voice cuts through sharply. You will face forward and address only this court. Ethan turns back slowly, a smirk playing at his lips. Your Honor, with all due respect, can we just fast forward through the lecture? I'll pay whatever fine, do whatever online course, and we can all get back to our lives. I have a flight to Aspen at 4. The courtroom falls into complete silence. Even his attorney closes his eyes in visible pain. Judge Caprio sets the file down with deliberate care. His voice remains calm, but there's steel underneath now. Mr. Blackwell, let me make something very clear. This is not a negotiation. This is not a transaction. This is a court of law. And you are here because you have repeatedly demonstrated a flagrant disregard for public safety and the legal system. Come on, Ethan interrupts, his tone dripping with condescension. Public safety? Nobody got hurt. These are victimless violations. Revenue generators for the city. Everyone knows that. Victimless. Judge Caprio's eyebrows rise. Tell that to the families of the 115 people killed in speed-related crashes in Rhode Island last year alone. Ethan waves his hand dismissively. That's different. Those people were probably texting or drunk, or just bad drivers. I'm talking about skilled drivers who know what they're doing. Skilled drivers, Judge Caprio says quietly, who believe rules don't apply to them. Rules apply, Ethan says, his patience clearly wearing thin. I'm here, aren't I? I showed up. I'm playing your little game. So let's just get to the part where you find me. What, 500? 1,000, and I write a check and we're done. Howard Pemberton leans over, whispering urgently. Ethan shakes him off irritably. Judge Caprio's eyes narrow slightly. Mr. Blackwell, I've reviewed your record extensively. Your first speeding ticket, at 19, was reduced because your father's attorneys argued it would impact your insurance rates. Your second ticket, at 21, was dismissed due to a procedural error that mysteriously appeared after your family made a substantial donation to the Police Benevolent Fund. Your third ticket. Okay, I get it. Ethan interrupts. I've had tickets. So have millions of people. Why am I being singled out? You're being singled out because you've had 17 violations in 6 years, and each time, your family's money and influence have shielded you from real consequences. But this ends today. Ethan's expression hardens. Is that a threat? It's a reality, Mr. Blackwell. You know what? Ethan takes a step forward, his voice rising. I'm actually tired of this. Tired of being treated like a criminal for driving my own car on public roads that my family's tax dollars pay for. Do you have any idea how much money the Blackwell Hotel Group contributes to this state's economy? We employ over 2,000 Rhode Island residents. We pay millions in property taxes. We bring tourism dollars that keep the city running. The courtroom is dead silent, everyone watching this spectacular display of arrogance unfold. And you, Ethan continues, pointing at Judge Caprio, actually pointing at a sitting judge, our municipal court judge making what? $150,000 a year? You probably drive a Toyota. You probably shop at Target. You have no concept of what it's like to operate at my level. Howard Pemberton stands quickly. Your Honor, I apologize for my clients. Sit down, Howard. Ethan snaps. I'm not apologizing for telling the truth. He turns back to Judge Caprio, and his voice takes on a dangerous edge. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to reduce this to a simple speeding ticket with a minimal fine, because if you don't, my family's legal team, and we retain 3 of the top law firms in the Northeast, will appeal this into oblivion. We'll tie up this court with motions, depositions, and complaints for the next 2 years. We'll request your recusal. We'll file judicial misconduct complaints. We'll make your life a living nightmare. At 5:47, Ethan Blackwell crosses the line, from which there is no return. And when we're done, you'll be removed from the bench and remembered as the bitter small-time judge who couldn't handle dealing with successful people. So I suggest, strongly suggest, that you take the smart path here. Gasps explode through the courtroom. The court stenographer's hands freeze over the keys. A bailiff takes an instinctive step forward. Howard Pemberton drops his head into his hands, knowing his client has just committed professional suicide. And Judge Frank Caprio, the compassionate judge who has shown mercy to thousands, goes absolutely, utterly still. The silence that follows is suffocating. Judge Caprio slowly removes his glasses and folds them with meticulous precision. He places them on the bench. When he looks up, his eyes, those eyes that have welled with tears for struggling defendants, that have sparkled with joy at seeing people succeed, have transformed into something completely different. They are the eyes of a man who has reached his limit. Mr. Pemberton, Judge Caprio says quietly, I strongly suggest you advise your client to stop talking. Immediately. Howard Pemberton stands. Ethan, not another word. No, Howard, I'm done being polite. Ethan snaps. This judge needs to understand reality. We have senators on speed dial. We have the governor's personal cell phone. One call from my father, and this entire situation goes away. So I'm giving him one last chance to. Enough. The word doesn't come out as a shout. It's quiet, controlled, but it carries such weight that everyone in the courtroom, including Ethan, immediately falls silent. Judge Caprio stands. In 42 years on the bench, he has stood during proceedings, perhaps a dozen times. It is a gesture so rare, so laden with significance, that even the reporters in the back row lean forward, sensing they're witnessing something historic. I've been a judge for 42 years. Judge Caprio begins, his voice low and measured, and I have never, not once, been threatened in my own courtroom by a defendant who thinks money can purchase immunity from the law. I wasn't threatening. Ethan starts. You will be silent when I am speaking. The command is absolute. Ethan's mouth snaps shut. Judge Caprio steps down from the bench, something he almost never does. He walks closer, and Ethan actually takes a half step backward, his bravado cracking for the first time. You stand before me representing everything that corrodes the foundation of justice. Judge Caprio continues, his voice gaining intensity. The belief that wealth equals power, that privilege equals immunity, that consequences are for other people, the poor, the powerless, the ones who can't afford $9.50 an hour attorneys. He pauses, his gaze boring into Ethan. You threatened me. You threatened this court. You stood in this hallowed space where justice is supposed to be blind and told me, in front of witnesses, that your family's money and connections could have me removed from the bench if I don't comply with your demands. That's not. Ethan's voice wavers. That is exactly what you did. And now, Mr. Blackwell, you're going to learn something that your father's money has prevented you from learning your entire life. What's that? Ethan whispers. That in this courtroom, your last name means nothing. Your bank account means nothing. Your family's connections mean nothing. And here, you are equal to every single person who has ever stood where you're standing. And the law, applies to you just as it applies to everyone else. This moment will change everything. Judge Caprio returns to the bench, his movements deliberate. He puts his glasses back on and picks up his pen. Mr. Blackwell, you came into this courtroom prepared to buy your way out of accountability. You're about to discover that some things cannot be purchased. Ethan's face has gone pale. Your Honor, maybe I spoke hastily. Oh, you spoke very clearly, Mr. Blackwell, and I heard every word. Judge Caprio looks directly at Ethan Blackwell, his expression unreadable. Mr. Blackwell, please rise. Ethan stands, his legs visibly shaking now. Howard Pemberton rises beside him, already mentally drafting appeal documents. On your 5th speeding violation, I find you guilty. Additionally, based on your conduct in this courtroom today, the threats, the intimidation, the complete contempt for this court, I am holding you in contempt. Do you understand what that means? Ethan nods mutely. I need to hear you say it. Yes, Your Honor, Ethan manages, his voice barely audible. Good. Here is your sentence, and I promise you, Mr. Blackwell, this is a sentence that all of your family's money, all of your attorneys, and all of your connections will not be able to erase or reduce. The courtroom holds its collective breath. First, your driver's license is hereby suspended for 24 months. 2 full years. You will not drive. You will not operate any motor vehicle. You will not sit behind the wheel even in a private parking lot. If you are caught driving during the suspension, you will face immediate arrest and incarceration. 2 years. Ethan's voice cracks. I can't. My business requires. Your business will have to accommodate your legal consequences. Judge Caprio says flatly. Second, you will pay a fine of $50,000. Not to the court, to the Rhode Island Trauma Center's Road Safety Initiative, which provides emergency care to victims of reckless driving accidents. Ethan's mouth falls open, But Judge Caprio continues without pause. Third, you will complete 800 hours of community service. You will work as an orderly at Rhode Island Hospital's emergency room, where you will see firsthand what happens when vehicles traveling at excessive speeds crash. You will clean, you will assist, you will observe, and you will learn. An orderly? Ethan's voice is hollow. I have a degree from Wharton, then you're overqualified, which means you'll do an excellent job. Fourth, every Friday evening for the next 2 years, you will stand at the intersection of I-95 and Route 10, one of the most dangerous stretches in Rhode Island, holding a sign that reads, I drove 104 miles per hour and threatened a judge when caught. Don't be like me. You will stand there from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. during rush hour, where thousands of commuters will see you. The courtroom erupts in whispers. This is unprecedented. Ethan looks like he might collapse. You can't. That's public humiliation. That's cruel and unusual. It's called accountability, Mr. Blackwell. And we're not finished. Judge Caprio consults his notes. Fifth, you will write a 10,000-word essay on the history of traffic safety laws in America, the statistical correlation between speed and fatalities, and a detailed explanation of why you believed you were above these laws. This essay will be published in the Providence Journal, with your name attached. Published. Ethan's voice is barely a whisper now. Everyone will see. Yes, they will. That's the point. Sixth, you mentioned your family's charitable contributions. Excellent. You personally, not your family, not your trust fund, but you, will establish a 100,000 scholarship fund for children who have lost parents to reckless driving. You will fund it, you will administer it, and you will personally meet with every scholarship recipient and their families. Ethan sways slightly on his feet. Howard Pemberton puts a steadying hand on his shoulder. And finally, Judge Caprio's voice rises, commanding the room. You will return to this courtroom in exactly 24 months and present evidence that you have completed every single element of this sentence. If you have missed even one Friday at that intersection, if you have written one insincere sentence in that essay, if you have shown one instance of the contempt you displayed today, I will hold you in criminal contempt and you will serve 6 months in the adult correctional institutions. At 12:34, Judge Caprio delivers the final blow. Furthermore, I am forwarding today's transcript, including your threats against this court, to the Rhode Island Bar Association's Ethics Committee and to the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Public Corruption Unit. If your family attempts to use their influence to interfere with this sentence, they will face federal charges for obstruction of justice. Am I absolutely crystal clear? Ethan can barely speak. Yes, Your Honor. You threatened to have me removed from the bench, Mr. Blackwell. Instead, you've just received the most comprehensive sentence I have ever handed down in my 42 years as a judge. Congratulations. Judge Caprio's gavel comes down with the finality of a vault door slamming shut. Court is adjourned. The moment the gavel strikes, the courtroom explodes. Not in applause. This is too serious for applause, but in shocked exclamations, frantic note-taking by reporters, and the urgent clicking of cameras from the media section. Ethan Blackwell stands frozen at the defendant's table, his face the color of chalk. His expensive suit suddenly looks like a costume. His watch feels like a shackle. His entire world, the world of privilege and immunity he's inhabited for 25 years, has just collapsed around him. We'll appeal, he whispers to Howard Pemberton. We have to appeal. This is insane. Howard Pemberton, one of the most respected attorneys in Rhode Island, looks at his client with something approaching pity. Ethan, I've been practicing law for 37 years. That sentence, it's harsh, but it's entirely within judicial discretion. And given what you said, the threats you made, any appellate court will likely uphold it. You might even face additional charges. But my father, your father, Howard says carefully, just heard that the FBI is being notified. If he lifts a finger to interfere, he'll be facing federal charges. You're on your own. The realization hits Ethan like a physical blow. For the first time in his life, Daddy's money cannot save him. As he's escorted out to complete paperwork, someone in the gallery, A young mother who'd been cited for an expired registration calls out, "That's what justice looks like." Others murmur agreement, but the real explosion is just beginning. A court reporter, who had been live tweeting the proceedings, uploads the full transcript within an hour. The headline reads, "Millionaire's son threatens judge, gets destroyed with historic sentence." Within hours, the video goes viral. 3 hours, 2 million views on Twitter 8 hours, 12 million views across all platforms 24 hours, 35 million views. Trending worldwide, the hashtags proliferate like wildfire. Legal experts are invited onto CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and every major news outlet. The consensus: Judge Caprio's sentence was aggressive but legally sound, a masterclass in creative judicial sentencing that stays within legal bounds while delivering maximum accountability. The clip that goes most viral? The timestamp at 5:47, Ethan threatening the judge, followed immediately by Judge Caprio standing and delivering his devastating response. Content creators dissect it. Law professors use it in classes. It becomes a cultural moment. Gregory Blackwell, Ethan's billionaire father, is forced to release a public statement. "I am deeply ashamed of my son's behavior and fully support Judge Caprio's ruling. Ethan's threats were inexcusable, and he will face every consequence the court has mandated. No amount of money or influence places anyone above the law. I have instructed all our attorneys to take no action regarding this case. My son must learn accountability, and I have clearly failed as a father to teach him that. I apologize to Judge Caprio, to the court, and to the citizens of Rhode Island." It's a stunning statement, a billionaire publicly admitting failure and refusing to help his son. Ethan tries to respond on social media. He posts on Instagram, before deleting it minutes later. "This is judicial overreach. I'm being made an example because of my family's success. I will fight this." The backlash is immediate and nuclear. Comments flood in. "You threatened a judge and you're surprised? Your privilege is showing and it's ugly. See you on I-95 every Friday, rich boy." He loses 90,000 Instagram followers in 12 hours. Brand partnerships that had been paying him for luxury lifestyle content vanish overnight. Friends distance themselves. His girlfriend breaks up with him via text, citing embarrassment. The Blackwell Hotel Group's PR team goes into crisis mode as customers threaten boycotts. Gregory Blackwell has to publicly separate his business from his son's actions. Ethan Blackwell, for the first time in his privileged life, is facing something his money cannot fix. 8 months pass. The first few Fridays at the I-95 intersection are humiliating beyond words. Ethan stands there in all weather conditions, rain, wind, bitter cold, holding his sign as thousands of commuters drive past. Some honk in support of the sentence. Others photograph him. TikTokers make videos. He becomes a meme. Standing guy, they call him. Speed Judge Boy. The internet is merciless. But something unexpected begins to happen around month 4. At the hospital, where he works as an orderly, Ethan witnesses a trauma team fighting to save a teenage boy brought in from a high-speed crash. The boy is 17, younger than Ethan was when he got his first speeding ticket. The medical team works for 90 minutes, but the injuries are too severe. Ethan watches the boy's parents arrive, watches them collapse in the hallway when they receive the news, watches the mother scream in anguish that will haunt him for the rest of his life. He learns later that the crash was caused by a driver going 97 miles per hour in a 60 miles per hour zone, 7 miles per hour slower than Ethan's last violation. That night, Ethan sits in his apartment. He's moved out of his penthouse, downsizing to something more modest, and writes in his court-mandated journal, "I watched a child die today because someone like me thought speed limits were suggestions. I used to think I was a skilled driver, that I was in control. But control is an illusion at 104 miles per hour. One blown tire, one moment of distraction, one unexpected obstacle, and I would have been that driver. Those parent screams would have been because of me. I'm starting to understand what Judge Caprio was trying to make me see." His essay, published in the Providence Journal at month 7, is not the defensive, excuse-laden piece many expected. It's raw, honest, and devastating. I am writing this from a place of profound shame. For 25 years, I believed money and privilege made me special. I drove recklessly because I thought rules were for ordinary people. When caught, I threatened a judge because I believed my family's power could erase consequences. I was wrong about everything. The essay goes viral for different reasons than the courtroom video. People respond to its authenticity. On his final Friday at the I-95 intersection, week 104, having missed not a single one, something remarkable happens. A car pulls over. A man in his 50s gets out and walks over. "I've seen you here every week," the man says. "I lost my daughter to a street racer 3 years ago. She was 22. I've driven past you every Friday on my way home from work, and every week I've wanted to scream at you two. Tell you that your sign isn't enough, that you're just doing this because you were forced to." Ethan braces himself, knowing he deserves whatever comes next. "But I watched you," the man continues, his voice thick with emotion. "Week after week, in rain and snow and heat. I saw you weren't just standing here. You were actually talking to people who stopped. I read your essay, and I think maybe you actually learned something." Tears stream down Ethan's face. "I'm so sorry about your daughter. I'm so sorry. I could have killed someone just like her. I almost did." The man nods slowly. Then, unexpectedly, he extends his hand. Ethan shakes it, and they stand there at the intersection, two men connected by the understanding that some lessons are only learned through suffering. Ethan Blackwell stands before Judge Frank Caprio once again, but the man standing at the defendant's table is unrecognizable from the arrogant heir who threatened a judge 2 years ago. He's thinner. His suit is nice but not ostentatious. His watch is a simple Timex. His eyes carry a weight that wasn't there before, the weight of understanding consequences. Judge Caprio reviews the compliance report. "Mr. Blackwell, you have completed all 800 hours of community service. You stood at that intersection every Friday for 24 months. Your essay was published and widely read. The scholarship fund you established has awarded its first 3 scholarships. The hospital staff reports that you were reliable, compassionate, and genuinely engaged with the work." "Yes, Your Honor. Tell me what you've learned." Ethan takes a deep breath. "I learned that I was a danger to everyone around me and too arrogant to see it. I learned that privilege is a shield that prevented me from developing character. I learned that consequences aren't punishment, they're education. And I learned that the law applies to everyone equally, which is the only thing that keeps our society from descending into rule by the wealthy." Judge Caprio studies him carefully. "Do you still believe I should be removed from the bench?" "No, sir. I believe you saved my life. If you'd given me a slap on the wrist like I expected, I would have kept driving recklessly. Eventually, I would have killed someone or myself. You gave me something my family never could, accountability, and I'm grateful." The courtroom falls into complete silence. Judge Caprio nods slowly. "Mr. Blackwell, your license is hereby reinstated, but I'm adding one final condition. For the next 5 years, you will speak at high schools and driver's education courses about your experience. You will tell your story, the whole story, to teenagers who think they're invincible. You will use your privilege not as a shield, but as a platform for prevention." "I'd be honored, Your Honor." Judge Caprio stands and extends his hand across the bench, something he did once before for another transformed defendant. "Mr. Blackwell, you came into my courtroom as a boy playing at being a man. You're leaving as someone who understands what manhood actually requires. I'm proud of the work you've done." Ethan shakes his hand, tears flowing freely now. "Thank you, Your Honor, for not giving up on me." This is what true justice looks like. The courtroom erupts in genuine applause. Judge Frank Caprio reflected on the case in an interview with 60 Minutes. "When Ethan Blackwell threatened me in that courtroom, I had a choice. I could have simply held him in contempt, given him a fine, and moved on. But I saw something in his arrogance that troubled me deeply. Not just his behavior, but what it represented about our society's relationship with wealth and privilege. I crafted that sentence carefully. Some called it harsh. Some called it creative. I called it necessary. Because Ethan Blackwell represented thousands of young people who believe money equals immunity. And if I let him walk away without meaningful consequences, I would have confirmed that belief. The goal wasn't humiliation. The goal was transformation. And I'm deeply gratified that it worked. The video of the courtroom confrontation has been viewed over 63 million times. It's taught in law schools as an example of judicial creativity within legal bounds. It's shown in driver's education courses as a cautionary tale. It has become a cultural touchstone about privilege, accountability, and justice. Ethan Blackwell now runs a nonprofit organization called Second Chance Roads, which provides driver education to underprivileged youth and victim support services to families affected by reckless driving. He speaks at over 100 schools per year. He still has the sign from those Friday evenings hanging in his office. A reminder. This story teaches us that wealth and privilege cannot buy immunity from the law. Threatening those in authority reveals character, not power. True justice transforms rather than simply punishes. Accountability is a gift. Even when it feels like punishment, humility cannot be taught. It must be earned through consequence. One moment of arrogance can lead to a lifetime of growth. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear this message about accountability, respect, and the transformative power of justice. Ethan Blackwell learned the hardest way possible that no one, no matter how wealthy, how connected, how privileged, is above the law. But he also learned that consequences can be the greatest teacher. What would you have done if you were Judge Caprio? Was this sentence too harsh, too creative, or exactly what was needed? Comment below and let's discuss. And if you believe in justice that doesn't just punish but transforms, if you believe that accountability is how we grow, if you believe that everyone deserves a chance to become better, hit that subscribe button. Because these stories matter. These lessons save lives. And every person who watches this and thinks twice before believing they're above the rules is a potential tragedy prevented. Share this story. Tag someone who needs to see it. Use the hashtag because in the end, true justice isn't about revenge, it's about redemption. And redemption is always possible for those willing to do the work.